Everybody joining me today here on the Phillip Jordan Show is Jeff Fedotin. You can read his work over at Forbes, a lot of Kansas City Chiefs stuff over there, and you can listen to him or watch him on the Bleav in Chiefs podcast. He's part of that. And Jeff, I appreciate you coming on to talk about the defending Super Bowl champions.
Philip, thanks so much for having me, man.
Oh yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have. I told you off air. I mean, if I was going to talk about the AFC West, got to get somebody that's plugged in to the champs because they are the champs until somebody knocks them off, and I have found out hard to do so with number 15 back there at quarterback. But preseason, first preseason game. Look, and I'm kind of one. I don't know how you are. I'm kind of one where I watch the preseason games. I like stuff I see, but I don't overreact. I don't underreact. I kind of try to keep even keel. Just what is your when you're watching these preseason games? What's kind of like your mindset going into them?
Yeah, totally. I think the even keel approach is the right one. It's certainly not to overreact. For a team like the Chiefs, I mean, we know how good they've been going to at least an AFC Championship game every year that Mahomes has been the starter. So this is not a. It also might be a team that if they're young and rebuilding, maybe you take a little bit more. Uh, Maybe the results, the way their performance matters a little more. But the Chiefs will kind of know what they're getting. So yeah, I think the even keel approach is the correct one.
Yeah, well, I'm a Packers fan, so I guess I have a little bit more
Right, right.
outlook
Them. Yep.
on it.
See how Jordan Love looks. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was the interesting. I'm fighting with my friends on that one. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about the Packers. I'm here to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, so Patrick Mahomes, obviously, as you would not expect, the first preseason game, not much action. A lot of passes to running backs in that one. But on the defense side of the ball, but and that's not to overreact, but still, the Saints were very successful offensively. Do you see any concerns there for the Chiefs?
Yeah, and that's you are correct with those observations, and kind of interesting what you mentioned first. I'll answer the defense question, but yeah, Mahomes only had the one series, didn't throw to a receiver at all. All his attempts were to running backs. Um, but even his playing a little bit is somewhat significant. You mentioned you're being a Packers fan. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is with a new team, and he hasn't yet played, I believe, in the
Mm-hmm.
preseason, which is very normal for elite quarterbacks. So I think one series is kind of a lot in a way for a quarterback. But to answer your question about the defense, um, there's a little bit of concern. I think it's going to be a good defense, but they did not look good against the Saints. They were down 17-0. Derek Carr kind of went wherever he wanted to go against that defense. Trent McDuffie and Justin Reed kind of struggled in coverage, which is surprising. They're good players. So I don't think there's too much of concern. And also, this is a different defense without Chris Jones. And, everyone still thinks he's going to be there in the regular season. So, yeah, I don't think there's much concern.
Yeah, I was reading right before we got connected. I was reading some quotes from Andy Reid. He used the word when he's on the field, not if. So that seems like
Right,
okay,
right.
he's going to be there. It's just he's not there right now.
Yeah, I mean, for so many reasons. One, he said all along that he wants to be a Chief for life. And two, and the Chiefs have said all along that they want him um, to have a long term contract. It wouldn't make sense for either side. And it's not like he's still under contract. He has a year left on his deal, and he has 20 million left on his deal. Worst case scenario, I mean, how could he at age 28 with having a short career sacrifice that? And how could the Chiefs sacrifice not having Chris Jones, the best player easily on that defense? It just makes too much sense. Right now everyone's kind of freaking out about all this time he missed, but he knows the system. Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, has been there 4 years. He knows the system. It's a long season. Really, I mean, what's he losing? He'll have to get in game shape a little bit, but right now I don't think there's anything really to worry about.
Yeah, and how many times we hear about these guys that's got some
Right.
years in the league? They hate training camp. It's like, and I other shows I listen to, you have former players or current players. They hate going through it, especially in his situation. It's not a new team. He knows what's going on. This is actually honestly, it could be better for the younger guys getting more reps, getting more chances to impress the coach staff to create that depth behind him.
Exactly. My my Bleav in Chiefs co-host Joe Valerio, who used to play offensive line for the Chiefs, said it actually could be a good thing in missing training camp. Not only, like you said, to give the other young guys some more reps, but it's such a long season, especially for the Chiefs, who are playing at least in January every season. That's a lot of games. We're now up to 17 games, so it's like he was saying, it might be good to give him a little bit of a rest.
Yeah, and of course, when you play in the AFC, there's going to be big matchups throughout the regular season a lot because, the AFC is a much tougher conference to get through than the NFC. So kind of that grind that can be that side of it. Oh, looking at the Chiefs now, and you wrote an article at Forbes on Justyn Ross, and when I saw it, I come to mind to get what he was at Clemson that first year against Alabama, which that's the state I'm in. So I'm probably about to make a couple enemies with Alabama fans, what I'm about to bring up. Great game against them in the national championship game. And he was a kind of receiver that freshman year with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence did not have to put it on the money. He was a guy that the catch rate is. Obviously, the injuries have really hit him hard. Oh, what was your whole take on him? He had 2 catches. He had a touchdown catch in the game. Just getting him, I mean, if he can be healthy and has that talent, he could be a big addition, a big help for this Chiefs team, don't you think?
He's absolutely the most intriguing guy, I think, on the roster right now for the Chiefs. I mean, he's 6'4". You mentioned how good he was in college. As a freshman, he had 1,000-yard season on a national championship team. As a freshman, that's the kind of talent this guy has. It's whether he can stay healthy. And he's flashed at training camp. He obviously had the touchdown against the Saints in the first game. He had a nice 14-yard completion where he broke a tackle. It was a really nice play. Those were his 2 plays. He also had one bad play. It was in an interception that was a pass intended to him. Wasn't 100% his fault, but he was still somewhat at fault. Wasn't a great pass, and he could also have done a better job. So yeah, that's the great question. Is he potentially could be a target like Mahomes has never had. He really has not had a wide receiver, that kind of big-bodied guy could like throw a fade route to. He's had like more small, quick guys. Juju Smith-Schuster was a physical player for them last year, but he's not 6'4". So it could be really intriguing. And of course, we just, fingers crossed, he's had so many health issues. That's why he went undrafted. Some very serious ones. We're talking like he had like fusion surgery for his spine, some serious stuff like that, and repeated foot injuries. So the question is if he can stay healthy is really, to see if. So it's so intriguing, Phillip, to see what if he'll be another nice weapon for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and they've had some good ones. And look, receiver, look, Patrick Mahomes is one of them quarterbacks. He just makes everybody better. If you get like, I'm bad about picking all this, but you get a Kirk Cousins, he's not lifting these guys up. Exactly. That style of quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers in prime, Brady in his prime, guys like that, they lift the team up and bring them to a different level. You mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. He's off to the Patriots, and then McCall Hardman, he's now off to the Jets. Now you have Kadarius Toney, MVS, you got Sky Moore coming back. What do you make of the whole group of the receivers?
Yeah, it's a really interesting position group to watch. And I think they have good depth. I don't think they have a lot of bodies. But I don't think there's any like a receiver. Of course, Travis Kelce isn't a receiver, but he's wide end. Talking about wide receivers specifically, they have good depth, so it's going to be an interesting who makes the roster, but there's no star. I mean, Toney could be, but his health is an issue. We just mentioned Justyn Ross. He could be, but like his health is an issue. And they're expecting Sky Moore is projected as the starter. He didn't do much as a rookie, but they've been really raving about him. But yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this group develops. Phil, no receiver has been with the Chiefs longer than 2 years. So we're talking a real young group with, again, a lot of targets, a lot of potential targets, but there's no Tyreek Hill among the wide receivers, no just standout talent.
And last year proved that Patrick Mahomes did not need, a Tyreek
Exactly
Hill
true.
because
Yep.
look, I will go in. I'll be honest with Jeff. Last year, I wasn't like when it's the Chiefs are in trouble. I was concerned with the receiver last year, but you know what? After what happened without Tyreek Hill and all that stuff, I'm like, they'll be fine. It's Patrick Mahomes. He'll find a way.
I was the same. If the Chiefs used it as such a chip and motivate chip on the shoulder, like motivational um, technique to like, oh yeah, everyone was counting us out. I don't think anyone was really counting out the Chiefs, but I thought maybe they'd take a little step back. I thought maybe they wouldn't get to a Super Bowl. Maybe I don't know if they'd even lose the division, but nobody thought that this team was going to miss the playoffs or anything crazy like that. But I mean, Tyreek Hill is so outstanding, and he's been good. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes, whether it's Alex Smith, whether it's Tua in Miami, he's been good. With any quarterback, so he's not dependent on Mahomes. But yeah, certainly now I'm the wide receivers. It's going to be interesting to see who emerges out of that group. But you got to think that there's not a lot of concern showing how Mahomes, like you said, can do it with anyone. So
The magician he is, the true magician he is. If when football's over, he's got another career waiting on him if he wants to do that. Offensive line breaking into new tackles. Just what's kind of been your take just on what you've seen, what you heard with the offensive line with the Chiefs?
yeah, they looked really good in preseason against the Saints for whatever that's worth. Donovan Smith had a kind of a viral clip where he just threw to one of the Saints defenders as part of his 9 snaps. But yeah, it's promising. I think it was a real smart move. Donovan Smith is on a 1-year affordable deal, and so the question is, he was a really good player early in his career. Last year, he was not good. He was not rated high on any of the analytics metrics, and he gave up a lot of penalties. Um, but he was also playing hurt. So the question is, now that he's a little bit healthier, is he going to be the player he was earlier in his career, or has he just lost a step? Was it not just the injuries? But it's worth a flyer on him, and worst case scenario for the Chiefs, they can move Juwan Taylor, who they paid a lot of money to left tackle if Donovan Smith is playing like he did last year or he gets hurt or whatever. Right now, he's penciled in as the right tackle. I think it's going to be an upgrade. Orlando Brown did not have a great year for them. He's an outstanding run blocker, but doesn't seem to be an elite pass blocker on the left side. Joe Valerio, again, my podcast co-host, actually thought he might have been playing hurt last year. Maybe that's why his performance wasn't great. But Juwan Taylor is probably not the run blocker Orlando Brown is, but he's graded out as a much higher pass blocker. So, yeah, you've already got a great interior. I think they've upgraded on the edge. So, I mean, it should be a really good offensive line. The Chiefs have kind of determined the biggest factor. They don't want a repeat of that Super Bowl loss to the Bucs. They want a good offensive line. They've invested heavily, more than really any position group, financially into that offensive line, because they're like, you know what? If we can give Mahomes time to throw, really nothing else matters quite as much.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Said of all the teams in the NFL, they know what it means to when you don't have your guys, when you don't
Right.
protect the quarterback, which is still crazy thinking about the Super Bowl. How many passes he almost completed running for his life
Mm-hmm.
against the Buccaneers. It was just that was actually one of the more impressive performances I think of his career. Even
Yeah.
it was
Right.
a lopsided loss.
Yeah.
Defensively, you brought up Chris Jones, of course. That whole situation we talked about that, but George Karlaftis, he really came on at the end of last year. I think 5.5 sacks in the last 7 games. So you're looking at Chris Jones was there, like I said. Andrew Reid says win, and now you add this talent. I mean, whew, good luck blocking these guys up front if you're opposing team.
Totally. And Karlaftis has got to now take another step. He, like you said, he did so well down the stretch there. But they did lose Frank Clark to the Broncos, who might have underachieved a little bit, considering how much they gave up for him, how much they paid for him. But he was a great playoff performer. So they lost him. They lost Carlos Dunlap. They could add him back or another veteran down the line. So that this will be interesting. See, Karlaftis is now. He used to be kind of the other guy, the young guy who kind of benefited off all the attention the other players were getting. Now he's got to take that other step up, and that'll be interesting to see how he does.
And just looking at the rest of this division, obviously you got to feel the Chargers should be number 2. I think that, but then the Raiders, I guess you trade Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I mean, I guess that's basically what you did, swapping them out. And then Denver, who knows what happens there? What's your take on the other 3 teams, the rest of the division, AFC West?
Yeah, I think maybe not only do the Chiefs have a really complete team, the best quarterback, maybe the best coach, it's reasons that they're front runner to go back to the Super Bowl. I think another reason is their path is a little bit easier. You look at the Bengals, what they have in the AFC North, or the Bills, what they have in the AFC East. Those teams are really loaded. I think that the Chiefs, AFC West is still the Chiefs swept the division last year, and I'm not sure they're going to sweep it again, but I'd be shocked if they don't win the division. It's pretty weak. The Chargers, you mentioned, are really talented, but they always seem to do Chargers things and lose games they should win, whether it's big lead against the Jaguars or the tight games to the Chiefs. And then the Broncos, I think, will be better. Sean Payton's such a good coach, and they did have some real bad injury luck. I think Russell Wilson bounces back a little bit. The Raiders, I don't know. I think the Raiders are a bit of a dumpster fire. Devontae Adams has been unhappy. Josh Jacobs hasn't showed up. Who knows when he will? Maybe Carr to Garoppolo is at best a wash, but like Garoppolo is pretty fragile, and they're excited about this rookie quarterback, O'Connell. Maybe that'll be the difference. But yeah, I think it's going to be smooth sailing for the Chiefs. I think maybe the Broncos finally get them. Maybe they lose to the Chargers, but certainly be shocked if the Chiefs don't win the division yet again.
Yeah, it feels like this is hot seat city for Brandon Staley there with the Chargers. Like if this thing does
Absolutely.
not, if you don't get to the playoffs and at least get a win, I mean, and try not to, wet the bed against a team like you did against the Jaguars, because when you look at what you have at quarterback, and Jeff, it's funny. I always thought maybe it was a Phillip Rivers problem because Phillip Rivers went through that a lot. Lose close games, something would happen, but now it seems like it's jumped over into with Justin Herbert too. So it's just kind of interesting how that team just always has that problem.
Yeah, they're always right. They're always kind of it's like Charlie Brown and Lucy in the ball. That's the Chargers. Yeah, I think it must be. I almost wonder it's like so often you look at these teams. Yeah, the reasons are quarterbacks, but like the really good teams historically that have been good for a while, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Steelers, have such stable ownership, and I'm wondering if the Chargers, that's like top down, that they've had so many issues. They weren't doing great in San Diego. They couldn't get a stadium. They moved to LA where they're like the redheaded stepchild, and they didn't have a great stadium situation there. They have a temporary small one where all the visiting fans are dominating the stadium. I think things like that maybe it permeates down, and what you said, Staley is on the hot seat, and maybe the executives didn't make the right call in the coaching staff. But yeah, certainly that's like for a while it seems like the Chargers have done this. Lost games, they've had a lot of talent, and lost games they should be winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe we'll see if they can knock that trend out this upcoming season. For Brandon Staley, so I better hope so. I guess on
Right,
that part.
right.
Before we close out, back over on the Chiefs. Of course, this Saturday they will play the Arizona Cardinals in the second preseason game. I saw where Andy Reid said expect the starters for a half. What do you want to see this Saturday in the preseason game against the Cardinals?
Yeah, and like you said, I'm taking all this with a grain of salt. If the Chiefs get killed, I'm still very optimistic how they're going to do this season. But they got off to such a slow start. I think that the Chiefs will respond. I'm sure the coaches have been hard on them after that, so I expect them to come out fast. And the defense didn't look good. I mentioned Justin Reed and McDuffie. They didn't get a lot of a big rush up front. So I'm really focusing on the defense to see if they can step up after looking so lackluster to start the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Gonna be checking it out. See how week 2 in the preseason, because these preseason games fly by than the regular season, and we're full on college and pro football all
Right.
together. Our weekends are filled, Jeff, in the next few months with everything going on. But I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun talking with you, talking all things Chiefs and AFC West. If the listeners and viewers want to check you out online, where can they find you and all the work you're doing?
Yeah, no, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me on, Phil. Yeah, so I write for Forbes.com. I do a lot of Chiefs coverage for them, and you can always just go to that site. My last name is spelled Fedotin. It's an uncommon one, so you can always Google my stuff there. And check out the podcast I co-host with Joe Valerio. He's kind of a cult figure with the Chiefs because he holds the record for the most tackle eligible touchdowns for an offensive lineman. And so you caught. I mean, there's a lineman who caught touchdowns from Joe Montana. So you can listen to us and Bleav in Chiefs. That's Bleav in Chiefs.
All right, sounds good. Everybody go check Jeff out. Check out the podcast. And Jeff, I appreciate the time, and I hope we can do this again sometime down the road.
Absolutely, it was a blast, man.